Here's 5 things that I wish I knew and that I have learned since becoming a child of God, actively pursuing Christ. I'd say number one is learning to lean not on my own understanding. A lot of the times, as women, we are taught from a very young age to be so strong and so independent and to seek knowledge and to get wisdom, right? But we're getting it within our own means. And so we get to a certain age and we believe we just understand everything. I've had to walk myself back so many times because I believe that that comes from a place of pride, especially when you're in a relationship and nobody can really tell you anything, much less the Lord, right? Our wisdom is very limited. And I don't think the human race really realizes how limited we are, right? The Bible says, if a man think himself wise, let him make himself a fool, right? It's like we don't know what we think we know. So I would say that was number one. Number two is humbling myself before not only the Lord, but for my husband. The Lord called me out of the workplace, like a 9 to 5, like years ago. And it was something that I never experienced before. I used to work from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I used to make my own money all the time, take care of myself. I graduated high school at 15. And so I was always independent. I could move across the country by myself. I could do everything by myself. I didn't believe I needed anybody. Right. So when the Lord called me home and I was a first time mom, and he had me learn to be a homemaker and a housemaker. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to clean properly, none of that. And so when he called me, it was really, really hard for me to humble myself underneath my husband because I'm like, well, I can make as much as he can, and I can do this and I can do that. But that's not what the Lord calls us to do sometimes, right? We have to have the qualities of a Proverbs 31 woman, right? And so humbling yourself before your husband, first and foremost, if you can't do that, then we're going to have a hard time humbling ourselves before the Lord because it's the Lord, our husband, and then us, right? And then our children. And so I would say that's a hard number two. Number three, I would say probably learning to be long suffering and patient. That's what I've had to learn for my children, for myself. A lot of the times when we get and we become an adult, we have these wounds from our childhood and from how we were brought up, and we don't even realize that. But when we have children, we can see where that patience has run thin. We can see where we just can't take certain things without it overstimulating us, and we pass that on to our children. And so as I'm home and I'm homemaking and I'm learning these different things, I am learning that I need to be long suffering, especially when the enemy tries to come in with like anxiety and tries to get you to just like spaz out or just feel like life is just so overwhelming all the time. When in reality, the Lord called me back home to make me